There's a lot of new design features on this truck, all right, but it isn't going to be near as hard to work on it as I thought when I first saw it.
1966. Oldsmobile drops the Toronado, and every car magazine in America loses its mind. Differential bolted to the frame, short half shafts with telescoping universal joints, full floating axle. A layout that would define front-wheel drive cars for the next 50 years. Revolutionary, they called it. Except one vehicle already had every single one of those features. No car magazine covered it. No engineering award, no design retrospective anywhere in the country. It did not officially matter. To find one, you did not visit a dealership or an auto show. You followed a milkman. Because 18 years before the Toronado, that exact drivetrain was sitting under a bread van, built not for speed, not for glory, but because a delivery driver's knees were giving out. This is the story of the drivetrain the auto industry forgot, and the one cheap part that killed it. See, this layout did not just materialize out of thin air. In the original Chrysler training film, and yes, Chrysler shot a full instructional film just for this rear end, which tells you how dead seriously they took it. One of the mechanics peers under the van and says it reminds him of Special Army truck. The senior tech confirms it. This system saw real military service, and the route van was the first commercial application. I could not track down which military vehicle they meant, but the timing lines up perfectly. War is over. Chrysler has engineers who spent years elbow deep in offset powertrains and short drive shafts. Dodge needs a flat floor on a delivery van. The solution was probably already sitting in somebody's filing cabinet. They just had to bolt it under a bread truck, which is a weird sentence to type, but there it is. The van was part of the B-Series family, launched in 1948. 2 chassis platforms, 3 body sizes, payload range from 1,775 to 7,500 pounds. But the part nobody expected? Underneath. So what was actually going on under there? Let me walk you through it the way the power traveled. The engine, a flathead inline-6, sat offset to the right side of the frame. Now, I need to clear something up because it drives me up a wall. The official Stellantis fleet blog still calls this a 250 cubic inch V6 L head. Chrysler never built an L head V6. Not in 1948, not ever. Straight 6. The fact that the company's own heritage page botched this is honestly embarrassing. One owner who restored a route van said his had the stock 235 cubic inch flathead with a 4-speed manual, a granny low first gear, and a 4.89 rear end ratio. Top speed? About 50 miles per hour. You were not merging onto anything with confidence in this truck. That offset engine opened up a clear walkway on the left so the driver could step from the seat straight through to the cargo area. No climbing over anything. Because the engine was offset and the wheels were centered, the drive shaft came back at an angle to the differential, which was bolted to the frame through support arms with rubber insulators. Those insulators pulled double duty, killing vibration and keeping normal differential whine from buzzing through the cargo body. I appreciate that detail. Dodge was thinking about the driver's ears, not just his legs. From the differential, a short stub shaft came out each side, connecting to a pair of universal joints that telescoped into each other, one inside the other, sliding longer or shorter as the wheels bounced over bumps. The splines on those sliding joints were chrome-plated for corrosion protection. Nice touch on a truck that spent its entire life getting hammered by rain and road salt. Out at the wheel, the shaft went through a spindle bolted to an I-beam rear axle. The wheel rode on that spindle, not on the shaft, so the I-beam carried the full weight and the shaft's only job was to twist. Full floating axle. Same concept as a modern heavy-duty pickup. Leaf springs on top, and that was your suspension. The result? A cargo floor you could walk across dead flat from cab to rear doors. No tunnel, no hump. Stand-up height of 6'3". One commenter described the whole thing as sealed ball bearings, like on a bicycle, sitting under a 1948 bread van. He is not wrong. But here is the part he did not mention. Every bit of this depended on one cheap part staying intact. The weak point was not the differential, was not the chrome-plated splines. It was a rubber boot. Each pair of telescoping universal joints had a dust boot covering the slip joint to keep dirt and water out. Around the 4-minute mark of the training film, the senior tech puts it bluntly, if those joints lock up from contamination, the first good bump will make the wheels squeeze the differential like an accordion. And if you have seen what road salt and delivery route potholes do to rubber over a few winters, you already know where that is heading. Servicing was no picnic either. Setting up a drive shaft bearing meant holding the retainer by hand, measuring the gap with a feeler gauge, and building a shim pack 3 to 5 thousandths of an inch thicker than the measured space. 3 shim sizes, 15, 20, 25 thousandths, and you had to puzzle out the right combination. Too tight, you bind the bearing and warp the retainer. Too loose, grease leak. At the wheel end, even worse. The retainer sat inside the axle flange where your hands could not reach it. You had to yank the whole assembly and do the same routine on your workbench. To be fair, Chrysler designed it so you could swap the differential drive shaft bearing without pulling the entire rear end off the truck. Pretty thoughtful. But thoughtful engineering and cheap maintenance are two very different animals. One commenter under the original training film nailed it. All the complexity of independent rear suspension, with the weight and rough ride of a solid axle. He is right. The I-beam and leaf springs were still there. This was never about ride quality. It was only ever about the floor. So what killed it? Maintenance. Every shim pack, every dust boot inspection, every feeler gauge measurement, that is skilled mechanic time on the clock. Multiply that across a fleet of 40 vans, and suddenly the numbers look very different from the competition's. And the competition did not need better engineering. It just needed to be simpler. Divco, the classic milk truck most people picture, built about 6,385 trucks in 1948. The Model U was not anywhere near as technically ambitious as the Route van, but it kept its basic shape all the way through 1986. 4 decades, no telescoping half shafts, no shim packs, no chrome-plated splines, just a straightforward drivetrain any fleet mechanic could tear into with a basic tool set. Divco did not win on engineering. It won on being fixable in a dairy's own garage by a guy who was not a specialist. Then Chrysler moved on. B-Series ended after 1953, C-Series replaced it in '54, and the offset drivetrain did not make the trip. Nobody held a vote. It just was not invited onto the next platform. That was that. As far as I could find, Dodge never published a separate Route van production number. It is all buried in the B-Series totals. If anybody out there has a factory breakdown, I would genuinely love to see it. Now here is what gets me. That same basic idea, differential mounted to the structure, short half shafts running out to independently mounted wheels, came back. Oldsmobile used it on the Toronado in '66. Cadillac put it in the Eldorado in '67. By the late '70s, it was standard on front-wheel drive cars across the industry. Same answer to the same problem, a flat floor, and the delivery truck got there 2 decades earlier. Today, the B-Series family averages about $18,840 at auction, record sitting at $77,000 for a pickup. Route vans are rarer. Sellers on barn finds have noted they are harder to find than even Divcos or Grummans. Most were fleet trucks that got beat on for a decade and scrapped when the maintenance caught up. Exactly the fate the drivetrain's complexity predicted from day one. Chrysler took this seriously enough to produce a full training film just for the rear end. One commenter said he watched these exact films in high school shop class with a teacher who was a former Chrysler tech. This technology was taught, practiced, then forgotten. But that does wrap up the story of the Dodge Route van's drivetrain, a truck advertised as a storeroom on wheels, where the entire chassis was re-engineered around one idea: get the floor down. Military-proven engineering, bolted under a delivery van, solving a real problem for working drivers. Ahead of its time, expensive to keep alive, and it lost to simpler trucks. But 18 years before the Toronado, a bread van had it first. Let me know in the comments if you have ever seen one of these in person, or worked on that telescoping half-shaft setup. Some of you learned this off the same Chrysler training films. I would love to hear what that was like. Like, share, and subscribe. It really helps me out, and I will see you all in the next one, enthusiasts.